What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the PostMortem podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Humble Dink. I mean, Swaggy Dr. Kush. And this is Doc.
You're really going with Humble Dink to this time. Just for clarity, we are recording this on the 31st, so it is Halloween. I think Swaggy's idea right now is to cosplay as Humble Dink, which it has to be both an insult and a loving jester, especially.
I even got the props.
He's got the props. What is it, Swaggy? It's PT Postmortem. It's a long format show between the two doctors of PT discussing the ips, the buts, the who's and the wheres and what fors. We haven't had a card for about a week and a half so far. I mean, we did end up with the last UFC 4 card, and now, since that time, UFC 5's been released. We're going to have an exhibition card this Saturday on the 4th of November between all the former champs, which is looking like a fantastic card. You have Trixie versus Fad. You have Smudger versus Robin, if I'm not mistaken.
Samurai Robin.
You have BFAP Styles making a return on PS, which personally I'm hyped for. Like, it's Styles. This man, if you go look about anything I've talked about Styles with, he's emotional abuse in the cage. He's one of the loveliest guys I've ever met. But he is emotional abuse in the cage. It is mental. I am hyped for it, to say the least.
You sound hyped. you sound hyped for mental destruction in the cage. I'm hyped. I'm hyped for CV.
Yeah.
I'm hyped for CV. I forget who he's fighting, which I feel bad about. I'm sorry to CV's opponent. I don't remember your name because I'm so excited for CV. But I just know I'm excited for CV because UFC 5 is obviously new released, and the defensive buffs that CV was so... I talked to CV before UFC 5 came out for one of the episodes of Kush Corner, and CV told me that he was excited for UFC 5 because of the defensive buffs. That the defensive buffs were going to bring his game to a whole new level, because he was a very defensive player in UFC 4, and now with the fixes to defense in UFC 5, he feels like he's even going to be even more elite, even more top level. So I'm really excited to see how he uses all those changes to his advantage.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest changes I think everybody will find is, one, light heavyweight and heavyweight are better to play, which most likely will mean we will see them now being booked on the PT cards, people being forced into those weight classes using those picks, and that's going to be interesting to see how that meta develops up in those heavier weight classes. We haven't had a chance to see it before, since they've never really been competitive weight classes due to that slow speed. But following on from your point of CV and his masterclass of defense data, you have his rival of Smudger, who loved picks like Izzy, who are now one of the biggest parts of the meta. I mean, Alex Pereira, personally, in my experience, that man kills most Izzies, but Izzy is one of the best picks at the middleweight division right about now. His length, his kickboxing style, his cleanliness, and then you even got his alter ego, which is actually a very fun alter ego to players as well. So I'm really looking forward to see how both CV, Smudger, those highly defensive PS players go and look for the action, but also the meta itself, because the metas, it seems to be long fighters, but also jiu-jitsu, which is a very different take of how the ground game was in previous editions, like 4.
Yeah, that's another thing, the ground game. Our submission studs in PrimeTime. I'm excited to see.
Absolutely loving them.
It's gonna be crazy because the scrambles in UFC 5, it actually allows you to scramble. And it's not as crazy as legit real life wrestling scrambles, but you can actually scramble from submissions. You can actually scramble to different transitions. And being a wrestler myself, I fucking love that. It's an amazing aspect to the game. So that's going to make fights very interesting, especially, I don't think it is on this card, but like a Vuck versus V-Pain.
I feel like we have V-Pain versus Styles, which, as I mentioned, which is... Styles is a masterclass grappler from the BFAP side. He was our first PS champ. He's made his entire name being... if you know how dirty Dave was during his prime of PT, but imagine that 10 times worse.
Oh, okay.
That's what Styles is. The best part
Yeah.
is he's one of the loveliest people to ever talk to, and I'll keep reiterating
Mhm.
it. But he is abuse on the ground. I first ran into him, didn't know who he was. I went to fake, and he denied me. He
Yeah,
just
I would.
denied a fake and then got a reversal. I was very confused by it.
Yeah, kind of like a mad Kai.
Ah, he is mental. I
Yeah,
love him
like an
for it.
angry Kai. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm excited for fights like that where we're gonna see a lot of grappling because the grappling is actually interesting to watch in UFC 5. And and yeah, it's gonna be great. I feel like the comms team is gonna really love the first UFC 5 card. All three of them are gonna go crazy. Definitely gonna be a fun day.
I mean, it's going to be mainly about the subs as soon as you hit the map. As soon as you hit the map, and as soon as you're having to commentate over those types of subs, someone who's been in the booth myself, like the normal mini games is always like, will he get it? Will he won't? Oh, he's doing some good tracking. Oh, maybe so. Now now the subsystem is not only a mind game, but you can go from shit like a Kimura into an armbar, into back sitting, into an RNC, end up bracing in an RNC, getting a desperate escape in the RNC, and end up in back flat. Or you can do stuff like maybe a dash choke, and instead of going for the dash choke, you end up in back flat. There's all these different combinations. Triangle chokes from bottoms get you in mount, armbar get you in back sitting, which gives you the RNC strat as well. I mean, even side control, if you can get counter subs, Swaggy, which is just a brilliant little move, like getting an arm triangle count and stuff like that as well included.
I got standing guillotined in the top mount yesterday. Um,
Ooh, rough.
yeah, yeah. The standing guillotine still as disgusting as it was on
I
UFC
love pull
4.
guard with a standing gilly though. Like you just gilly them, pull guard, and then they're suddenly trapped in the submission. It's a fun time.
It's not for the person that you're facing. I
No,
promise.
yeah,
Not the one you're
no, that
dog
is
walking.
that's the issue because a lot of the people now will be starting to understand the offense, and the offense is only one aspect, especially in these types of games. UFC is the only type of game where I think you'll ever find this type of stuff happening. Is you really do have to learn the defense as well because as soon as you've got the offense, everybody knows the offense. But then it's what about the defense? It's to deny up for a sub, but you can't do it when your stam's drained, and if you and if you're the attacker as well, and you've got no stam, and you're wanting to put in a gilly, if they want to transition, they can. You can't deny that either, and that's one of the things. So it's all about the stam battle. It's all about making sure you got that, and hopefully, I mean, we can talk about the pros here. The cons of the game currently, which I would argue is mainly the stamina on the feet, and once that stam is kind of sorted out, that's going to play even a bigger role on the ground. I would argue.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest problems right now. The stam, it doesn't go down fast enough,
Mm-hmm.
which allows people to spam like crazy, and just kind of allows a lot of power shots, which is just making the stand-up game messy right now. Not a lot of people are playing ranked. I myself has switched to quick fight. I feel like I'm finding better fights in quick fight just because people aren't spamming like freakless sweats, but uh
Lee took, Lee
yeah,
took,
that
Lee took.
yes, and fucking jab straight, elbow, 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 which they said they were gonna fix,
Yeah,
which they
no,
said you weren't supposed to spam.
no. The elbows are the really interesting one. I mean, you can pull an elbow though, which is the good part. You can pull an elbow and get a clean counter off it.
But slipping is so dangerous, which I
You
didn't
just
think
pull
it was
back.
gonna be. Not pulling back,
Oh,
but
what
I
the
mean
slips?
like
Yeah,
like
no,
slipping.
yeah, no. You are correct. The slipping is kind of on the dang. It doesn't feel. I
The
mean,
flash
but that was
KOs
kind
are
of the
wild,
same.
but
Yeah.
they said it wasn't gonna be. I feel like
So I
that'll be a
do
fix that comes as
believe.
well.
So I do believe the flashing of slips currently is a bug. There are in some cases. I think I've got a couple myself playing people in invite games where they slip off to the side even just minorly and they've got no head health. Then they've got full head health and then suddenly they get hit by a hook and they're like flash KO'd. It's stuff like that. It's just I think it's also because it's on a new engine. There's a lot of weird tiny bugs that I haven't seen since maybe 2 or 3.
I don't know if you saw any of the glitches I was getting. I had this one glitch where like I had Aljo on the cage, like sitting on the cage, and I'm punching him, and then out of nowhere, Aljo picks O'Malley up and just kind of like flies backwards, holding him, and then the camera just zooms out like completely into blackness.
That sounds like a
And then
UFC
I've
post.
had a and then I've had a couple times where like in between rounds, it'll just be an ice bag, just icing your fighter, no coaches, just an ice bag fucking there. I had one time just an ice bag, nobody else, just an ice bag
Fair
in
enough.
between rounds. I,
I've had a
the
couple of
ghost
T
bag, I
poses.
was like, oh my god.
I've had a couple of T poses. The
That's
camera,
another thing.
the camera is
The
a bit
camera angles are
rough.
horrible. Those are rough.
You take someone down from the cage and it does a full 360 around your fighter. Do not get me wrong, the game is fun to play for the most part, but there is some stuff you're wondering. Please let this get fixed sooner rather than later.
Please.
Please, yeah.
And there was an update yesterday but no patch notes.
I believe they just added Halloween cosmetics and Daniel Cormier talking about Halloween on commentary. But I wouldn't know about the commentary stuff since I turned them off since they always drive me up the wall.
Oh yeah, I turned that shit off day one.
Yeah, I turned the music off after about 5 minutes.
That music, the soundtrack this year was horrible. I was gonna give it a try. It was terrible.
I mean, from what I heard, it wasn't as bad as 4's. But nothing has ever seemed to have beaten like UFC 2, UFC 3.
What? Well, 4's was Madden. 4's was just Madden 19 soundtrack.
Fair enough.
Literally. And then 5 was just a bunch of probably trash songs that EA was like, we're never gonna use these. Let's just give them to the UFC guys.
Yeah, it is like weird to like find that you expect, especially any type of game to release these days, with at least some good tracks. But hey ho, I suppose that's the way it goes. I mean, we're talking shit about the game here right now, but I mean, we have also described in depth about the submissions, grapplings, which may have a bit too big of denial windows. I've got to say, even as a grappler myself, the denial windows are a bit too big. The ground and pound's a bit too tracky. On the feet, it's a bit too tracky. Stamina has issues, but I mean, the foundations compared to 4 are so much better.
I mean, I love it. I have 71 hours on it.
Yeah,
it came out a week ago.
Yeah, like, I think I've got about the same. I think I've got about 2 days played on it so far. It is
game's incredible. I'm having a lot of fun on it. I mean, despite the problems that like the everyday players are having, I had casuals all week hop in my chat and say this game looks incredible, and then go on it for a couple hours and say I had a fun time.
I mean, it does look. I mean, that's another thing we can talk about. The graphical improvement of jumping from that to the Frostbite engine as well. So nice. It's so slick, and
it does.
I think from that point we can then move on to doctor stoppages and the cuts and how brutal
I was thinking that
they
too,
look.
Doctor. They look, yeah, the cuts look amazing. I love how the blood drips across the cage. I had a fight the other day where me and my opponent were literally like trying to land the last elbow to get the doctor in. Yeah. Like the doctor came in and I thought it was for my opponent, but it was for me. Like that's how close it was.
No,
and there's so much blood. It was carnage on the cage. And that's what I love about that's the type of shit I love in video games.
Yeah, no,
the
it
realistic
is really
of
good.
Damage. Like
I've had from my experience as well, I had a fight recently in which I knew so it was ranked. So what past about Div 15, you can't see their HUD or their name, which is kind of interesting. So you don't ever know who you're fighting until like round 2 when you go to check fighter stats and then a gamer tag appears on the fighter stats. But it's actually kind of it forces you to play in certain ways once you've got like the red doctor symbol on your health bar, because if you don't stop the action, like if you just stop the action at any point, there's a risk of the doctor coming in. So you've got to force action, you've got to force pace. And my opponent's also had a completely red face, looked like a jam jar has exploded in his face as well. And so we're both going at it, and it forces so much more action because you don't want the doctor to get called in because you don't know who it's going to get called for. It's a lovely little system they've added. I mean, maybe the cut stats should mean a bit more personally. I've noticed that it's sometimes quite easy to cut even people who've got high rated cuts. Cut susceptibility, sorry. But overall, it seems like a very good system to have in the game.
Yeah, I love the damage system. The damage system's cool. Even legs. I got put in a heel hook the other day, and I was slow. I felt slow after. Every time I moved forward, like lunged forward, it was slow. And I was like, oh, it's because I fucking got heel hooked 10 minutes ago. I would explain it. But yeah, I love the details that they put into the game. It does have its bugs that need to be fixed, but they are gonna work that stuff out. And shit, they even announced that they're gonna give us the fighters we want. And they're gonna start releasing ranked fighters.
I think we've got Ian Gary in January.
Yeah, which is stupid because he fights in December, so you'd expect him to be on the December drop, but it's whatever. At least they're getting it. And Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, Bryce Mitchell finally. I may actually have a viable featherweight I'd like to use now. Would be nice to have.
There is always Max Holloway there at featherweight.
I'm not going Max Holloway.
The best featherweight.
I'm going Volkanovski or Taporia or Ortega if I feel like using a Paul Craig version of featherweight.
Brian Ortega, literally Paul Craig version of featherweight.
I mean Paul Craig in middleweight. I'm loving it. I mean, honestly, it's just a subsystem. You get if you are given the chance to use a subsystem within any of it, it's so good.
Yeah, the game is fucking fantastic. It is really good. And now moving on into the actual PT fights coming up.
Yeah, we should actually. We have just been gossiping over UFC 5. We should move on to the exhibition card.
all of these details that are in the game are going to make this card so much more exciting.
I mean, especially when they're used by high-level players who've had a lot of experience on 4. Like, I can't wait to see how a lot of them use it.
First Doctor Stoppage, I already know J-Dime's going to be going crazy, and I can't wait. I can't wait. I actually think I'm making my primetime booth debut for this card. And I'm just excited to see both Cyrus and J-Dime's reactions to when these fights get in certain situations, and when the blood starts to splatter and all of these different things and the wrestling transitions and the subs, and I can't wait. It's gonna be a blast.
I mean, one of the things that I go back to was there was this moment in Trixie's versus Fad's last UFC 4 fight, in which Trixie was having a really competitive fight, and then suddenly he gets crucifix, and it's UFC 4, so so the cuts don't matter, the elbows don't matter, and I can only imagine that in UFC 5 where suddenly it completely changes because with the amount of elbows he's landed, that probably would have been a doctor stoppage in UFC 5, and it's like that's going to play such a big game because it's like as soon as you've got a doctor stoppage, you either got to go balls to the wall and put the action on or grapple. You have no choice. You have to play one of the others. You've got to force the action, and it's going to be really, really interesting seeing how people react and how the styles mix and muddle with it all.
I'm excited, and I'm excited for that fight right there. Trixie versus Fad, the first fight of UFC 5. First off,
main event.
First off, well, yeah, it's the first main event of PT UFC 5, but it's probably their actually first fight in UFC 5. I don't think these guys are friends. I don't.
Yeah,
every time Fad's asked about Trixie, I get ghosted, and Fad likes me. Shout out Fad. I get ghosted when asked about Trixie. I don't think they're friends. So this is probably going to be the first time we see them face, which is, I'm excited for it. But you should also look at the UFC 4 stats. They fought a total of 10 times. with Trixie holding the record 7-3.
But to add that into context here, just going on, you had Trixie winning for the first period, and then Fad went on a spree of winning.
Mm-hmm.
And then only recently has Trixie finally got that win back over. That you do have to take that into account there. So it's not like it's been a consistently clean wash for Trixie. It's
so their first fight was Xbox Grand Prix Season 2.
it tells you how long this has been going on for.
And then PT 26, PT 40, PT 43, Trixie beat Fad. Fad didn't get his first win on Trixie until PT 48.
Mm-hmm. We are now on PT 111. We'll be starting the season at 102.
So that tells you how far this goes back. How far this goes back.
Season
and then
2's about 3 years ago, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they didn't fight much after season 3. And then going into season 4, they had like all of these fights where like PT 100, and then the season 6 Grand Prix was their last fight where we saw Trixie break the streak that Fad was on. Fad was trying to break Trixie's record of the longest win streak.
I mean,
and Trixie said, no.
I mean, it's Trixie and then it's Fad in terms of longest reign champs. Fad consistently. I remember, especially during that period, where we were all wondering, is anyone going to be able to beat this streak? Will Fad actually be able to beat Trixie's streak that made him the go at PrimeTime? And then Trixie himself comes out and goes, I'm going to throw a wrench in the works. And that's what he did. And that's what you remember about Trixie. But then, as I've also mentioned, that's what you remember about Fad. Fad's that same type of fighter who can throw a wrench in the works at any moment's notice. And you can never write either of them out. That's the key thing you got to remember.
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned that exact thing you mentioned, because when I had talked to Trixie when I did an episode of Kush Corner, and I asked him how he felt about UFC 5, and he said he sees himself being the best when it comes to PrimeTime. This is my home for comp. No doubt I might have a hiccup here and there, but I always come out on top. He knows he'll take a bad loss here and here, but he's gonna come back out and he's gonna get those consecutive wins. And most of the time, it does end up with him back in front of Fadinator.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing you definitely got to remember when it comes to Trixie as a fighter, is his ability. He's taken losses. So he first started out in PT, just for clarification, he started out 0-1. And then he went on his streak, in which Keza then front kicked him, KO'd him out of nowhere in a GP. It was a really weird KO that was unexpected and completely shocked everybody. But it was a very good win, got Keza up, and then he fought for the title later down the line. So everybody Trixie has fought, though, has come out as a bigger name because of it as well. Especially if they get a win over him, they've just grown exponentially. And that's, even with the losses Trixie takes, you've still got to take that into account.
Yes. Yep, exactly. And then, that fight's gonna be a fucking war. I have no, I don't know. I don't know who I think's gonna win that. I don't have a guess.
That's my.
I don't have a prediction.
Who else?
I don't have a prediction.
I'm trying to remember to me, I don't have access to the card.
Smudger and Samurai Robin.
There you go.
Smudger versus Samurai Robin, because we've seen Trixie versus Fat a lot. We've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen it 1,000 times. We've heard the story. It's a great story. But I don't think we've ever seen Smudger and Robin. I'm gonna, the Kush Corner episode will be coming out on it. I don't think we've ever seen them face before. Not even in UFC 4.
No, because as Robin came to premonition within the PlayStation division, Smudger was taking the hiatus waiting for UFC 5, kind of the same way with CV, which is why Robin's in a very peculiar place as the current, the last reigning champ of the PS division in UFC 4, is because
he hasn't faced CV or Smudger.
Yeah, he hasn't faced two of the biggest names in the division. He's beaten everybody else. He's beaten Payne, who's also taken out, picked the likes of Smudger and Vuck in like one round, and now you're going on to UFC 5 with a completely new subsystem. So, I mean, whilst we're at it, we might as well mention the difficulty and the weirdness Payne may be able to face there. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to learn the subsystem, because he managed to learn the joints pretty well. Now it's a subsystem that makes sense in of itself. It's inbuilt. It's the same thing over and over again, but with slight differences between the subs. So that's going to be interesting to see. But Robin, with his leg kick game, as you mentioned earlier, you felt the effect of the movement. So how much that's going to play a part. Robin's technical ability, Smudge's technical. The PS division is built of a bunch of really technical fighters. That's just what it is. It's techniques galore. You have full MMA fighters on the Xbox for the most part who are pushing towards strikers, and then on the PS side you have a lot of technical strikers who have very effective grappling to add on to it, whilst on the Xbox it's kind of the opposite way around. It's a lot of good grapplers who have technical striking built on top.
Yeah, exactly. The PlayStation division is just so fucking stacked, though. Like all of those guys that are going to be in the top 10 were future champions, or will be again future champions, and that's like a thing to think about going into it. That literally anybody can end up on top in this upcoming first season of PT UFC 5.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how not only does the game develop with the patches, but also how the fighters adapt to it. Because I think there's a method to the overhands with how they can hit and how they can get through the block and how you can use them to counter a lot easier. The uppercuts are definitely a powerful aspect. The doctor stoppages, the grappling, the submissions. There are so many systems that are arguably the same but different on 5 that even for people coming from 4 into 5 are going to have to relearn in a lot of cases, and seeing how the former champs are going to be is a brilliant litmus test to see where the major issues are going to lie and where they're going to fall.
Yeah, no, I think having all past champions was a fantastic idea for this exhibition card, and it's gonna be a fun card to watch, to be there, and it's yeah, man, I'm excited for a lot of these fights. There's a couple other guys coming back that I'm excited to see on UFC 5. I'm excited to see Conti fight. I believe Winter's on the card, or I could be wrong.
Winter has never been a former champion, I don't believe. He's fought a couple of times against Fonte, and Fonte beat him, but I don't think he's ever been a former champion. He's fought him for the gold, but never got it, sadly. I mean, that could completely change, especially with how he's been looking within UFC 5.
I saw him fight in somewhere recently on UFC 5, and I'm just saying I have a feeling Winter could really turn a lot of heads this season in
Winter's
PT.
probably going to be a nightmare from what I've seen myself as well, yeah.
Yeah, I really think he'll turn a lot of heads. He'll be up there for sure.
If you want to bring up other names like that, I would argue Easy Work. It's going to be a lot of these guys who got good at the end of UFC 4.
He's not PlayStation?
What, Easy Work?
Yeah.
No, he's Xbox.
Oh, I thought Easy Work was PlayStation.
No, he's Xbox.
Easy Work is another stud on Xbox. That is another beast.
Yeah,
that's another beast.
He's fairly new to the community as well. Hasn't been around that long. Only joined towards the end of UFC 4, so it's going to be really interesting to see how.
I was really impressed with him a couple weeks ago.
Exactly.
On 4, and I haven't seen many people fight on 5 yet.
Yeah.
I've only seen a couple people that have come to kick my ass, and yeah, yeah, Easy. Wow. Yep. That would be somebody to look out for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Easy Work's going to be an absolute nightmare. Winter.
Yeah, he's going to be a problem.
And we don't get to see them until maybe even after the GPs. I mean, we might as well talk about this here as well, since I've just brought it up. So, the way PT's running this is we have the former exhibition card on the 4th, and then following that, we're going to be using the previous season of the top 16 Whoever is available. Of course, replacements will be given as and when they're needed. It's just the way it's going to go, sadly. But those fighters have earned a spot in the GPs. We're doing the same system as we've always done. They're going to compete. They're going to show their skills. They're going to be ones fighting for the belt. That also means you're going to have Robin and Trixie defending their belts from UFC 4 coming into UFC 5. So we get to see them going against the top 16. What I do know is you have Vuck, you have Goat, you have Pain on the PlayStation side. It's certain within that top scene rankings, and you also have Fadinator on the Xbox side. So, however these fights turns out, there's a very high chance you may end up seeing Trixie versus Fad in the GP, as well as Samurai Robin versus the rest of the PS division the following week afterwards. It's gonna be a stacked G two Grand Prix there, Swaggy. It's gonna be absolutely mental.
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware how it was gonna be going forward, but that's actually an awesome concept to run. I like that. I like how Trixie and Robin will be defending their belts from 4
Yeah.
because that kind of keeps the targets on their back instead of taking it away and like nobody has the belt right now. It's like completely putting full focus on them. Because obviously everybody's main goal coming into UFC 5 primetime, I want to be the first champion.
Hmm.
There already is a first champion. Who's going to be the first one
It depends how
to
you do
take
it.
it?
Yeah, I guess so. It depends how you want to word it. Maybe they are the first champion, maybe they're not. But they're the ones who have theoretically still got that belt, and how that plays out is going to be the story of the first GP themselves, of who's going to be our first officially crowned primetime UFC 5 champ. Will it be Trixie at the end of the GP, or will it be Fadinator, or any other names on there? I'm sorry, I apologise to the top 16 division. I have so many names I've forgotten half of you, and I currently don't have access to how to put it up. But same with the PlayStation side, so it's going to be a wild. Um, I'm genuinely really looking forward to it. I'm really hyped. I'm really interested in seeing how the meta develops. I think I've mentioned a few times now, so it's a new game, but it's not a new game, but it is also a new game.
Charles Oliveira is going to be the most used lightweight.
Oh, Charles Oliveira is so good, but Islam Makhachev's also fun.
I've been using Khabib a lot.
I haven't used Khabib yet.
Savage.
Makes sense.
Those elbows are just stronger than everybody else's. I don't know why.
Yeah, even with that being said, you also have the additions of like heavyweight and heavyweight, so you get to see maybe a couple of Fedors, Mike Tyson's, John Jones being so much better than what he was in 4 or 5, 3 or 4 as well, because you don't have that length tasks. No, it's going to be a really interesting time seeing who the main picks are, who are the grapplers picks more exactly, because I'd imagine you're going to see a turn from heavy, top heavy wrestlers now to more guys who will, if they end up on their backs, they're not bothered because they'll just put you into a triangle choke type fighters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, man, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting to break it down, especially the first couple of weeks. I feel like it'll stay exciting for the first couple of weeks until we kind of break into when we really do know who is the meta and who is this guy's favorite picks and what like and maybe we'll see a known striker adjust and become a now known grappler.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll see a lot of things like that as well, or we'll see more well-rounded virtual mixed martial artist in the cage. That'll be something cool too. And also, I almost forgot to say this. Also about the GPs, I'm
Mm-hmm.
also kind of excited to see because Trixie's a guy that speaks up, and so is Robin. Those are two guys that like to do promos. They like to cut promos. They like to talk. They like to tell you how they feel. And I'm excited to kind of see if they're both like, because I know they're both kind of these type of guys that'll be like, I'm not the champion yet. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not the champion until the GP's over.
Yeah.
Like, kind of walked in there like I haven't earned this one yet. I'm kind of also excited to see that kind of stuff. But I also love the hype of things and the build-ups and the drama behind everything. So we'll see. Hopefully we get more of that. And this is why we're doing shit like this. And
No, it's a good look, and it's gonna be really interesting seeing how it develops, how the game develops. As I mentioned, I think too many times at this point, but the game's looking fun. It plays well. I've enjoyed it. From what I've got, other fighters are also enjoying it. There's a lot of issues that need to be sorted, but hopefully, given enough time, EA is going to be able to patch that, develop the game further into what it should be. And yeah, I'm looking really forward to the next season and onwards for UFC 5 so far.
I am too. And before we get out of here, I wanna talk about one thing. This is my bucket. This bucket is the scum bucket. Every week on the PostMortem podcast,
I will say that
it's a pail. It's kind of like a pail, but it's my bucket. This is my bucket. Yeah. My scum bucket. And every week I will have a name in here of who is the scum bucket of the week. Swaggy scumbag of the week. That's how you can think about it, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to be in the bucket, don't be a scumbag in the cage. With that being said, this week's scum bucket of the week, since there was no primetime event, is everybody on ranked right now. You cheesy freaks. Do you know how to throw anything that's not a jab, straight hook, or the double elbow? Please, I'd rather you fucking drain me, stam drain me, and submit me. I'd rather you do it that way. Please, for the love of God, use combos. Every YouTuber has a combo tutorial out already. Go watch them.
Do you have a combo? Do you have a combo tutorial out just yet, Swag?
No, I only taught people how to throw spinnies. I do have a spinning tutorial. That was the first thing I fucking learned.
Yeah, then you want to go learn how to spin? Go look up Swaggy. I think you may be the only person with a spinning tutorial, since I think everybody's avoided them, to be honest. They are a difficult input to do.
I think I was the first and only one to do it. Everybody was focusing on submissions, and I was like, no, I gotta learn subs. I gotta learn spins first.
Spinny shit is needed, yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to seeing how people implement the spinny shit as well. Spinning elbows. I mean, everything's a lot less spammable though, so it's going to be quite good when you do land them.
Once you learn the spinning inputs, they're easy to add into combos. They're easier than the last spinning, because the last spinning stuff were all over the place. It was different inputs for like back fist.
It was like
back
LT,
elbow,
RB, B, and
it was a bunch of dumb inputs.
Yeah.
Now you have everything together. You have your death kick, you have your spinning body kick, you have your elbow, and you have your back fist. A lot of fighters have all four, but there's also a good amount that only have two, if not only one of the four. And that's one thing you want to know before getting into a ranked fight, and you're just
trying to do it, because otherwise you're just going to be spinning. Yeah, exactly.
Don't spin in circles. Just
don't spin in circles.
It's safe to say everybody has the back fist, though.
No, that'll be fun.
Everybody has a back fist.
I've thrown a back fist, yeah. I've thrown a spinning body kick. I've thrown a spinning heel kick. I've thrown a spinning elbow, but I haven't done the back fist just yet.
Back fist is triangle.
I'm trying to remember what that is on Xbox. I haven't got a
why.
Yeah, that's why I haven't pressed the Y button yet. Probably should. I mean, speaking of the butt presses,
it's one of your uppercuts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Just as you mentioned the uppercuts. The uppercut input is so much better, just because you're not trying to accidentally kick someone this time. You don't input a button and end up firing a body kick or a leg kick. Instead,
but my first 5 hours on the game, I was like clinching a lot of people, and a lot of people were clinching me. And like my first hour into it, I was like, yo, why is the clinch the meta? And then I realized, oh wait, everybody's just trying to throw uppercuts.
One of my first fights was against Dave, Dirty Dave, and it was just like I kept clinching him. It's surprising how good the clinch is, though. That's one of the weirdest parts. Is the changes they have
done. It's still dog shit, but it's better.
Yeah,
it's not as dog shit.
It's still got its issues. There's still a lack of positions. The fact that there's no just straight over under a button, so you have to take down Bale to even get to over under, is a bit shit. But
yeah, man.
it works. It's nice, and it does work for the intended purposes, and you no longer get as stuck against the cage either. That's another thing you've got to take into account. And you can knee someone in the face against the cage without it just being blocked by them holding their arm, which is another good thing about the changes they've made. So
yeah,
they've definitely gone in the right direction with it.
The cage uppercuts are better too.
The cage elbows are ridiculous.
I haven't thrown one yet, but the uppercuts are kind of deadly too.
Oh, do the elbows. I've learned the trick. This is a trick for everybody who want to know. If you want to cut someone and you're trying to work a cut, elbow them. In clinch,
yeah.
Just in the clinch. If you want to play that game, if you want to get the cut, if you want to use doctor stoppages, especially, depending on where the cut is, switch stance, because your fighter will always throw the rear elbow, so you're looking to land that rear elbow, so you can switch stance, go for that clinch, work it that way. It's just you can definitely focus it if you know your game plan and if you play it right.
I've been swelling people's eyes with cartwheel kicks. You just wait until they're gonna
cartwheel kick. Yeah.
You just wait until they throw a hook or an uppercut, and you throw the cartwheel kick as soon as they throw it, and your shin hits them right in the eye. It starts to swell. Like I've had like 3 at 3 now. The doctor stoppages where there's not blood, but the eyes just shut. The eyes just shut. There's like a hematoma coming from the eye. Like,
I haven't seen any strike ears. Speaking of like massive swelling, I haven't seen any strike ears so far, which I'm kind of sad about. It was one of the most enjoyable glitches you got on like 3 and 4. Just your opponent's ears suddenly going peak tongs, but hey ho. We get some bugs, we don't get others. We just get T poses instead.
Fucking T poses. I saw a clip of that. I was dying.
I think I've seen a clip on Twitter of a guy getting KO'd, but then the doctor being called in to call the fight off after they're already on the floor, which is... It definitely states some of the issues with the game. I mean, even as we do so, we do have to reiterate, it's a fun game. It really is. The game's really, really fun to play. But it does have
I like glitches
old
like that.
bugs. Yeah.
Glitches like that are funny. Like my glitch that I had where I got carried in the air across the cage and then it just zoomed into darkness. That had me dying. I was laughing afterwards. Like that shit's funny. Yeah. But no, they need to be fixed. They shouldn't be happening 100 times a day. But no, shit like that's funny.
Yeah, shit like
that. I love seeing clips like that.
The insanity of UFC 5 will only get more insane as we see them, as we see it within league fights as well. As you see fighters learn all the mechanics, see the peculiarities, what they can get away with, what they can't. And I'm really, really looking forward to it, as I've reiterated so many times during this podcast, PostMortem. I don't know what we want to call it. Long format video, I believe.
Episode?
Episode.
Yeah, during this episode.
Episode, I think is what we're going to call it. I mean, most likely, I would assume so. You get the idea. So I quite lost my time to phrase there, but I mean, as we talk about what this is as a show, which I feel like we've kind of lost since we've just talked a lot about UFC 5. I mean, we've talked somewhat about PrimeTime. There has been no event, so it's kind of bouncing off each other and hopefully getting somewhere.
And I'm dressed as humble, so like like we're PrimeTime enough here. Like
yeah, we're definitely PrimeTime enough.
Yeah.
I no longer have the PrimeTime blue hair. I'm now gone to purple, but hey ho.
Well, that being said, I think we've run out of stuff.
Yeah, I think we have. I'm looking at the list. It's completely done. We've been going for about 40 odd minutes. I feel like this is a good time to end. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to this, Swag, or should we just end it now?
I don't. Oh yes, make sure you follow PrimeTime on all of their social medias, even like TikTok, Instagram, TikTok, things like that. Kush Corner comes out every week. I did send Humble 2 fresh episodes today to drop. So there's going to be a lot of episodes that drop this week. I believe this will come out Friday if it comes out. So
I believe that is the aim. Yeah.
So make sure you watch Primetime tomorrow night. It's going to be a fire-ass card. Me, Cyrus J. Dime are going to be in the booth commentating the madness. It's going to be a lot of fun, and thank you for tuning in. Any last words, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, as just reiterate your point, make sure to go look up our socials. All of them should be under Primetime MMA. Our TikTok and YouTube are probably going to be most active. Instagram, hopefully, will get more active as along. Check out the Twitter on Saturday night. I know for a fact we're going to be getting clips from the exhibition card and getting them posted as soon as they happen on Twitter. So if you miss any action on the stream card, they'll be up on our Twitter. That again, I believe, is Primetime MMA or thereabouts. It'll be some form of that. It's going to be a wild time. I mean, especially as we continue on with this, we're going to be using our socials more, getting stuff like this out, Kush Corner. We're looking to incorporate more and more of these ideas, make it more MMA focused, not just UFC focused as we continue on. So it's going to be a wild time. Make sure to stick around. But I think with that being said, this has been Primetime Postmortem. Good night.